Sick of remembering her that way. It's never a dream of her tiny face pressing the window when she knows I was coming over. Or that little wobbly dance she did. It's always the same nightmare.
This is about letting go.
I killed her.
No, you didn't.
I thought I could fix the little girl's death. But instead it led to all of this. Nothing can change her death. But maybe I can still do something that'll make a difference. Haven't you heard? I'm the vigilante. Everything is at my command, and I'm not afraid to use it. My enemies may run Chicago, but I control it.
What would you do for family? Steal? Commit corporate espionage? Kill? Download a car? With Watch Dogs, you can become a domestic terrorist. Watch Dogs, developed by Ubisoft Montreal mainly, but also the wider Ubisoft team, was meant to act as the company's answer to the highly loved Grand Theft Auto series, releasing in 2014, a year after 5. And the game now has reached its 10th birthday, and I wanted to go back and look at the game that sort of ushered in the 8th generation of consoles, being used to showcase the power of next gen. Now, I played this game back in 2014, and I actually haven't touched it since. I'm a massive Watch Dogs fan overall, more specifically the second game, but I've always had positive memories of this game. Honestly, after replaying this game, I was actually completely wrong about it. Watch Dogs, after playing it, is Ubisoft's best start to a brand new IP that they have had in years. So let me explain why Watch Dogs is Ubisoft's best new IP for a very, very long time. Before we jump into the story recap, the chapters are in the description if you want to jump around. And if you do enjoy the video, leave a like and subscribe and comment if you want to. It's nice to see, and I always like to see you guys engaging with videos, and it's fun to see your comments. Anyway, let's get into the story recap.
Okay.
Opening the game, we are thrown straight into Aiden hacking into the Merlot Hotel for a job along with his mentor slash friend slash partner in crime, Damien Brenks, and infiltrating the hotel in order to steal a lot of money from the wealthy patrons in the rich hotel. As we all know, rich people only stay in rich hotels, so it is a good idea. However, a second hacker appears and it all goes south as this hacker focuses on obtaining the pair's identity and compromising them and their lives, and this sets everything in motion for the game. With their identities leaked, Aiden tries to escape with his family, which include his sister Nikki, her 2 kids Jackson and Lena, but fixers, this world's hitmen, catch up to them, flip their car, and in all of the chaos, everyone survives except the youngest, the 6-year-old girl, Lena. This sends Aiden into a spiral, and he wants revenge on all those responsible for exposing him, setting the hit up on him, and even doing the hit itself. So we skip forward here and we regroup with Aiden as he has tracked down the main shooter in the hit, the person on the bike. With the help of his plucky friend Jordi, they track down Maurice, interrogating him. Initially, they don't get anything out of him.
You gotta believe me, man.
Who gave the order?
Don't. I don't know.
You don't know.
Ain't the family? Not a problem. Nope. Husky, I'm good. You'll never hear from him again.
What do you think, Maurice?
Did you scare me?
Aiden wants Jordi to take him and work him for information, and boy does Jordi work him. This one action immediately tells us the sort of man Aiden Pearce is. He isn't a Batman type character who is fair and just. He will do anything to get what he wants, including torturing this man until he truly breaks. Why? Because he's fueled by so much hate and desire for revenge of what has been done to his niece. After capturing Maurice, Aiden has to escape the stadium, obviously, without being caught, so obviously the authorities don't arrest him. With the help of his hacker friend Bad Boy 17, Jesus, got to work on that name, we got a first taste of the hacking in the game and showcased the actual power that Aiden has at his fingertips with the Blackout. Being able to turn off everything in the vicinity and just completely bamboozle the authorities. With Aiden escaping, he asked Jordi to work Maurice, as I just stated. So now we follow Aiden back to his hideout, and we see that Aiden is completely obsessed with what happened to Lena, with this entire corkboard set up with all the possible suspects that could have even had a role in this hit. And we also see that Aiden also is surveilling his own family, his sister and his nephew, because of how scared he is of losing them as well. And through the cameras, we do see quite a sad moment where Aiden's actually been distant from his family. Why? Well, because of how obsessed he is in actually solving this mystery. And yes, this does mean he's been completely absent from their lives. However, he does decide to make a change to this.
Honey, your uncle's a different kind of person. It doesn't mean he doesn't love us.
And he goes to attend his nephew's birthday party. And in this scene, I think we get a really good insight into the impact Lena's death has had on the entire family and generally their family dynamic. Nikki makes it clear that Aiden is very much like their father and that she doesn't just want Aiden to hunt these people who killed Lena. She just wants Aiden there to actually support her and Jackson, but Aiden can't help himself. He needs to do this, and it's something that he believes needs to be done. Now, in the party, Nikki gets a call, and it's a prank call from a guy that goes on about the accident, and Aiden, obviously being a hacker, is able to listen into the call.
I know where you live. How are the locks on those doors?
Who is this? Why are you calling?
Do you feel safe, Nikki?
And traces the location of the call and leaves abruptly once obtaining the location of this individual, much to the disapproval of Nikki.
Look, did you know his voice?
Oh, Jesus, Aiden, just leave it. It's fine.
It's fine. He thinks he can get inside.
How do you know what he thinks?
You're checking the lock.
Aiden? You're going after that creep, aren't you?
Well,
You're doing it right now. I can't believe you.
it's not like that.
Stop being a hero, Aiden. Let it go.
Now, once you meet this man and you decide to give chase to him, you can either shoot him or you can just incapacitate the guy. It's up to your discretion, but this mission introduces the whole reputation system within Watch Dogs. You can either be a good, vigilante that uses justifiable force, or you can be a straight up maniac, just killing everyone. And I do think this system is quite fun. It allows the world to change due to your actions. So if you have really bad reputation, civilians will actually report you once they see you because they know who you are. But if you have a good reputation, civilians won't report you as often for the crimes you commit. So you can steal cars right in front of people, and if you have a good reputation, they just won't report it because they know that you're the Fox or you're Aiden Pearce, and they just want you to do good things for the city. Because as we all know, Chicago is a shithole. With the prank caller's phone now in our hands and the help of Bad Boy 17, they trace who tipped the caller to call Nikki. While this is being done, Aiden does some other menial tasks around the city, but once Bad Boy has this information, they ask to meet in person.
I've got something for you. We need to meet.
Meet? What, face to face? Should I look for a guy in a mask?
No mask. Just follow my signal.
And now we actually meet Bad Boy in real life.
Bad boy.
What?
Bad boy 17. What the fuck, man? Bad boy 17?
Clara.
I know, a woman, how crazy. She acts as an info gatherer for Aiden, with Aiden actually relying on her quite a bit throughout the story for things such as tracking, tracing, and finding things for him. And we find out the person who ordered the call on Nikki, which is Damien, Aiden's old mentor, who wants to meet up with Aiden as this is the best way he thought to get his attention. I know, a simple phone call would have done probably a lot better, but again, Aiden does seem to be wanting to avoid him. Why? Well, let's find out. Initially, Damien is very friendly with Aiden, asking for his help in finding the people that screwed over their lives, and we see how Damien's life was screwed over. He was permanently crippled from these people, being left in a brace, and from audio logs we find that his leg was severely damaged by these people, and it's probably something like nerve damage, so he'll probably never fully recover, and he's probably in constant pain. So it does actually leave Damien with a good reason to want to get back at these people, because his life has forever been changed. However, Aiden does not like Damien, as Damien is the reason they were tracked. Him not pulling out fast enough meant that Lena basically died because Damien was greedy, and Aiden basically tells him to shove it.
You can't do it on your own. You need me. Your big problem is, I don't need you. Don't walk away. This is a lead. Thanks for the tip.
And leaves him. However, Damien needs Aiden, as he physically is in no way, shape or form to hunt these people, so he sets a way up to get Aiden to work with him, but we'll come back to that later. Jordi gives Aiden a call back with some bad news and informs him that one of the gang members that they attacked in the stadium survived the whole ordeal and is in police custody, and there are people that want him to snake Aiden's identity, as he actually saw Aiden's face. So, Aiden and Jordi go to a train yard.
Aye. Oh, fuck.
And they interrogate the fixer boss, a Lance Brenner, in order to find out who is going to go to the prison to get information from the prisoner about Aiden. This is done with some great use of intimidation, and Aiden leaves to go get this person that is going to use the prisoner to get his name. So, the name that they get from this boss is an Angelo Tucci, who, on orders of the Chicago South Club, has been ordered to capture the prisoner, Raul Leonzo, who knows Aiden's face. So, how does Aiden get to him? Well, he finds Tucci's niece, tracks her down, and baits her into calling her uncle, and then traces this call to locate Angelo. And then he kills Angelo. Completely reasonable, I know. So he does this to prevent Raul from leaking his identity. Honestly, it just showed how serious Aiden is about this situation and how much force he's willing to use, as he is not opposed to messing with the families of people to get what he wants. A bit of a hypocritical thing, but at least he doesn't kill her, so that's fine, I guess. Now, there is a problem, however. This prisoner, Aiden and Jordi didn't actually know about this man, and he's all of a sudden popped up. So Aiden needs to intimidate Raul to be quiet. So he does the most Chad move I think imaginable in this situation. He walks into a police station, gets arrested due to him brandishing a nice firearm, and using some favors from people inside, he gets his phone handed to him when he gets his clothes, allowing him to break out, eventually saving Raul from being beaten to death.
Oh! Get back and come! I'm in on his side. Move! Got shots fired at my location! You're open! Stay there! I didn't sign up for this. You're on the line of fire!
And basically tells him to be quiet or he will come back.
How'd you get inside, man?
You know, it was pretty simple. These high-tech security prisons, they make it quite easy, really. Have we met?
What?
Have we met?
No. No, I never seen you, man.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So you're in here for 60 days. In good behavior, you're out in 30. What does that say?
60 years? What are you doing, man?
I'm just showing you an alternate future. You know, in case you get the urge to share your stories or make a deal with the cops. We're clear, right?
Now Aiden can finally work in peace. Once escaping the prison, Damien asks to meet up again, but at the location he said, he doesn't turn up, but a camera feed showed Damien in Nikki's house, and Damien has kidnapped her in order to get Aiden to play ball with him. So Aiden doesn't take this threat lying down and goes over to Nikki's house and does the average British interaction outside of a pub.
Where? That's not how it works.
I don't want to answer that.
Now, the people he hired did get a bit overzealous and tried to get Jackson as well, which Damien specifically said don't worry about the kid, and Aiden, being ever good with a gun, kills all of them and saves Jackson, now placing him into protective care of his therapist, the boys that is. However, Damien has Nikki, and Aiden must play ball with him if he doesn't want Nikki to die, and Damien demands that he finds out whoever the second hacker was in the hotel, a mystery that still has not been solved even a year later. Jackson tells Aiden a name. In the whole kerfuffle in the train station, Jackson overheard the men saying a name, Racine, a small trail that Aiden can follow, and the name links to a Robert Racine, a man responsible for kidnapping Nicole. So obviously, Aiden does the most honest thing a man can do when someone threatens his family and does something horrible to them. He absolutely brutalizes and murders him. With Robert dead, Aiden returns to his shithole of a base of operations to track Damien's IP address on the phone that he got from Robert Racine, as he was receiving direct orders from Damien. And as he's tracking it, Clara turns up, and they both look at a corrupted video of what appears to be a woman. Aiden asking Clara if she could fix it, she says it's impossible, as the original would be even needed to attempt to fix this video due to just how corrupted it truly is. As Clara is leaving, Aiden hears a couple cars pulling up, and he knows what that means. His location has been traced by fixers, as he was trying to find where Damien was, and even the second hacker was. It all just meant that people could trace him himself. These fixers are here to kill him, and he knows that. So, a massive shootout occurs with him blowing up his own motel room and having to escort Clara to get out of there safely. Once the two are clear, they regroup, and Clara informs Aiden of an old CTOS bunker which would have unrestricted access to the entire network within the city, and one man has access to this island which the bunker is located on, the Tobias Frewer. Aiden now has to hunt down Tobias, which finding him at a poker game, and unfortunately he decides he doesn't want to play anymore and does what every average person does when they get a really shit hand in poker. Once we catch Tobias, we learn that he is an ex-Bloom employee, the creators of CTOS and kind of the Microsoft of this world, and Aiden convinces him to give him the remote to the island, and now Aiden and Clara set off and set up the bunker to allow them to get more easy access to information around the city. With the bunker, the pair can now more easily track down the IP address of the corrupted video, eventually ending up in an apartment complex in the Rossi Fremont area, and using the security cameras, they start to gather some information about the people in this building. The leader is Iraq, a war veteran who seems to be very, friendly, I guess?
Fucking leprechaun can suck my lucky charm. This fuck's a stoat. Yo, it's a weasel, man.
Oh my god, bro.
Bedbug, Iraq's cousin, who seems to be a bit of a weaker link within this group and gang, and Aiden decides he's going to use him in order to get into the building and surveil it, so he can download the original video and repair the corrupted video. Now, a man we met earlier in the game, a lucky Quinn, while doing a job sent our way by Jordi, which had no story implications whatsoever, reappears in the story and is talking to Iraq. Lucky is the leader of the Chicago South Club, and he seems to be partnering up with Iraq in order to run some sort of event, with a big guest list being something that they talk about and how Iraq apparently stole it from him, but Iraq does inform him that he is just doing his best job to keep the guest list safe. So, Aiden needs to get into this building and into the server room more specifically. Aiden now tells Bedbug in order to get into the building. He gathers some information and evidence of Bedbug being disloyal to Iraq in order to blackmail him. Now, Iraq isn't stupid and knows this already, that Bedbug is being disloyal, and is planning to kill Bedbug. And this is told to us by Gary Rabbit Diggs, a not so important character, which Bedbug is about to kill, but we stop him and we find the location that Iraq intended to kill Bedbug with Rabbit's phone. So Aiden sets up an ambush to ambush the ambush on Bedbug in order to help Bedbug get even closer to Iraq, which will allow us to get more easily to the server room. After this ambush, Clara informs us that the briefcase. Now, once we're finished with this ambush, we call Bedbug and tell him that we're going to need his help, as we just helped him and he owes us. And Bedbug does agree, because he understands that Aiden just killed a massive ambush meant to kill him, and knows that Aiden could very easily kill him, and also has blackmail on him. So he agrees to help Aiden with this task. After this ambush, Clara informs us that the briefcase, which we saw someone just get beaten to death with, and the pair do believe is important, and yes, it does. It contains a guest list for this auction that is of extreme importance to Iraq and Lucky. What is this auction for? Well, slave women. Now, I can't show this part of the game because unfortunately there are just tits everywhere in this bit, and I'm not even joking. Every single woman in this level just have their tits out. It is not a fun scene to go through, and I can't show it obviously. But obviously Aiden needs to get into this auction in order to get to Iraq, so he can scan the key on his dog tags, as this is something Iraq uses to get into the server room. So they have to retrieve the guest list. Aiden does this. He finds a name that he could use to get into the auction and also kill the person who has this name, which no one will miss. This name, a Nicholas Crispin, and he has to kill Nicholas Crispin to stop him from compromising his whole disguise while he's in the auction. And what I find funny about this is that a bunch of characters talk about how sick and twisted this Crispin is after we kill him, just to make us not feel bad about killing him himself. And apparently he's some sort of twisted sex freak or something. I don't know. He eats women. I don't know. People say a lot of things and I actually don't know what he does because we just kill him. So who knows? Now, why do we want into this auction? Well, we need to get close to Iraq to scan his dog tags, of course, which have the key for the server room. And it goes well until it doesn't, and a massive shootout occurs, but we escape okay. And now Jackson decided to run away. So we quickly have to go and find him, but he gets himself into a bit of trouble. And the fixers were on him again to try capture him. So we kill all of these fixers, but unfortunately the security cameras, which Jackson could see, he sees us kill so many people. Yeah, not good for a young child to see their uncle they look up to absolutely murder a bunch of people, but hey, he's safe. Okay, with that sorted out, we are now ready to get into the server room. With Bedbug all wired up, he just walks straight to the server room and they start to download the data. But Bedbug gets caught and thrown out of a window.
No, don't you fucking lie to my face! This how you repay me for taking you in. Come on, cuz, look, we family. You know it wasn't me. He made me do it. What the fuck? He's real close. No. Get down there. Find that bitch.
Don't worry though, he survives this whole ordeal and he does call us later to inform us what happened, and he actually does sort of just disappear from the game, escaping the life that he was actually in. So it's a good ending for him. With the little data that they retrieved from the server, Clara quickly finds out that it is super heavily encrypted, like really encrypted, by Bloom's strongest encryption that only one man can decrypt.
Raymond Kenny.
So Aiden agrees to try find him in order to actually decrypt this data. So they track down some signals and they eventually find a man going by the name of T-Bone. This is Raymond Kenny, and honestly, one of my favorite characters in all of Watch Dogs. He's really good and he is a legend in the world of Watch Dogs. He's one of the main people behind the development of the CTOS system, but he realized the problem that the system would cause, so he tried to send a message to the people and caused a massive blackout, resulting in 11 people dying due to the failure of critical infrastructure. And this event haunts T-Bone. He does get some good character building in the base game, but he really shines in the DLC Bad Blood, which I'll mention later. Now, with the two having some time to talk over some drinks and a bit of fisticuffs, the two agree to work together, but Aiden needs to help T-Bone first with a couple things. First, T-Bone wants this truck back, a taco truck more specifically, and he needs to wipe his biometric data from Bloom's database so we can actually enter Chicago. And I think this actually shows us how invasive Bloom is in the world. CTOS has your biometric data, which can scan you completely and predict when crime is going to happen. It's really weird and honestly scary how much data this company has, but looking at it in today's society, this is something companies do now, which is kind of scary. We happily give our fingerprints to phone companies and things like that, and we don't even blink twice. We even give them our facial data. It's something that seems really odd in this game, but then when you look at how life is now, we're so willing to give this information to these big companies who could so easily track and trace us like they do in this game. So honestly, it's kind of cool seeing this game 10 years ago predict something like this that we just give away so willingly. So to wipe this data, Aiden infiltrates Bloom's offices. He uploads a virus created by T-Bone into the servers, which wipes some data and allows them to return to Chicago. Now, while Aiden is infiltrating the Bloom servers, we actually sort of go through all the camera systems and we actually see a meeting between a Bloom CEO and Damien Brenks, who was striking a deal with the CEO, basically trading Aiden, T-Bone, Clara, all of us. But of course, before the two can return, they're engaged in a bit of urban warfare. With T-Bone in the bunker, Aiden now needs to get all the data from Iraq's server so that they can properly decrypt it. So he just infiltrates it himself and downloads the data. However, Iraq confronts him and it's revealed that Iraq was the second hacker at the hotel that traced Aiden's identity. So Aiden does what he does best and kills him. Now, the data retrieved, they begin to decrypt it, but a rogue hacker infiltrates their system and steals all the data. This is Default, a bit of a nuisance throughout the entire Watch Dogs franchise, and he takes their data and deletes it, and then leaves a bit of a warning to Aiden, saying that Clara betrayed him years ago and plays an audio recording of her working for the man that ordered the hit on him.
May play.
It wasn't too difficult to find them. Two men. One's a hacker, the other a fixer, as far as I could tell. Never heard of them before.
I can't explain. I wanted to tell you.
Nice work. Names, please.
Are you planning to hurt them?
When has that ever bothered you? I trust the amount is satisfactory.
Damien Brenks and Aiden Pearce.
Aiden?
Now, Aiden initially does start asking some questions to Clara about who this person was that hired her, but she doesn't know. It was just some lackey that was just following orders by the true boss of the entire operation. So Aiden understands that honestly sitting there arguing with her is not going to get him anywhere, and that he needs to go and get the data that they just lost. So they go to Default's club and a chase ensues between Aiden and Default, or a Default copy or something. You can either kill him or knock him out, and you retrieve the data back from his server with T-Bone infiltrating his own room with all his machines in, so they can get all the data back and actually properly decrypt it and find out what is in this data that is so important. So with the data decrypted and downloaded and everything, what is this data? Well, it is the motherlode of all blackmail of every city official, CEO, or important person in the Chicago area. It has all their dirty little secrets in this data, and the biggest one is the mayor of Chicago himself, who murdered a Rose Washington, a name mentioned to us earlier. She isn't important at all. She was a big Bloom employee that helped T-Bone work on the CTOS system, but she isn't actually that important. The important part was that she was murdered, and her murder was covered up by Bloom themselves in order to keep the Chicago mayor in power. And this fully shows how corrupt Bloom is and how much the corruption spreads throughout the entire system. Now, earlier, Damien messed up when he let Nikki talk to Aiden, and he could hear a background PA system, and he asked T-Bone to clean up the audio, and now he has. And what do we find? The PA system says a name of a worker, which they trace to a location, and within this location, Nicole is being held in an abandoned building in the Brandon docks. So Aiden goes there and escorts Nikki out, and Damien now has no leverage over Aiden. And with Aiden getting Nicole and Jackson out of Chicago, Damien tries everything in his power to stop them even getting out of the city. And once Aiden gets the two out of the city, T-Bone contacts him and informs him of some audio recordings that he thinks he needs to hear.
Oh, I found something that'll shed light on who you're looking for. Are you ready for this?
Probably not. Play it anyway.
I want you to run an errand for me, Mr. Iraq. Right. Their name and address for this errand, Mr. Quinn. Brenks and Pearce. Make it a strong warning. Get the family if you have to. Sir, yes, sir. What they do? Not your concern, Mr. Iraq. Do as you're told. And I'll let you be in charge of the auction next year.
He's one cold son of a bitch.
Fucking Quinn.
An audio file with Lucky Quinn, and it fully reveals that Lucky Quinn was the man that ordered the hit on Aiden. Aiden had finally found the main person that caused the horrible accident that tortures him even to this day. So Aiden hunts him down, eventually cornering Quinn, but Quinn's behind some bulletproof glass and you can't shoot him in the head. Whatever will Aiden do to get him? Well, he hacks his fucking pacemaker, turning it off. I really like this because in the office of Quinn, we find all these emails and texts of him talking to doctors about medication and procedures for his heart, and him dying due to technology failing him is kind of poetic in a sense, and I just find it kind of funny.
Quinn's dead. This is the part where I'm supposed to say I feel empty, right? I'd be lying to myself. I finally feel awake. Like I can breathe again. And Lena? Nothing can change her death. But maybe I can still do something that'll make a difference.
Now escaping, T-Bone tells Aiden Clara is in a bit of trouble as fixers are now being sent after her, as Lucky, before he died, ordered that she be killed because she is not being a good employee. But Aiden isn't heartless, and if he was, he would have let Clara just die, but he doesn't. He does try to save her because he does believe that Clara was a good person and actually had remorse for what she did, even though she didn't kill Lena. She just did a job. But unfortunately, Aiden does not get there fast enough and the fixers get to Clara first. And it is also revealed in this scene where we kill a bunch of people that Clara was the person leaving the flowers on Lena's grave, which was a mystery to Aiden and his sister. Honestly, it is quite a beautiful moment for these characters, and it shows that Aiden didn't blame her for Lena's death. The same way Aiden's sister doesn't blame Aiden for the death of Lena, even though it was his direct actions that was the reason they were attacked. But both of them feel a tremendous amount of guilt for it, and their lives will forever be changed for it. Clara dies with her grief, and Aiden's grief leads him to be an extremely angry and revengeful person. However, Damien is still out there, and since the data is of no importance to Aiden anymore, he just releases everything to the public. And everyone takes the fall, the mayor, CEOs, everyone on that server, and Damien is not happy about it.
Away! What have you done? Are you mad?
I don't know anymore. But I do know Nikki's safe. And I know you'll pay for Clara.
You think you're the hero in all this? Read your own press. You're a terror to this city. You and your vainglorious bullshit. Come on then. Come and get me. Let's finish this. Oh, but there's one thing I forgot to mention. You'll like this. I've unlocked CTOS. Completely. I am inside the system. And you are in for a show.
Because he made a deal with Bloom that he would get unrestricted access to CTOS and a bunch of money probably. So Damien starts destroying the city in order to try to kill Aiden. But T-Bone and Aiden shut down the system and track Damien down, with Aiden now confronting Damien atop the lighthouse. Now all would end very easily, but Jordi betrays Aiden, but Aiden throws him off the lighthouse. And then just shoots Damien, and this ends the game. However, Jordi lives somehow, which is a bit weird, and the two just move on from what just happened, and he tells him that they need to do something with Maurice. Now, you can either shoot him fully embracing revenge and becoming a cold-blooded killer, or B, choose justice and become an actual vigilante, a man who had been tortured the entire game, you've been playing, and had given a lot of information, and now tortured by the death of Lena, doesn't deserve the death. He deserves to sit and rot with the memories, and I think this is the best ending for Watch Dogs, with Aiden not becoming a man that just kills for revenge, but an actual vigilante that wants justice, and that's reinforced earlier with him saying that he wants Lena's death to actually mean something, not just her death being about him killing a bunch of people. Oh boy. And that was a bit, but overall I really do like Watch Dogs' story, and it tells a very tight and character-driven story about a man in the darkest part of his mind seeking revenge as we follow him on his quest against the worst people in society. It does have problems in pacing, characters feeling pointless overall, and even some characters feel like they get forgotten at parts, but let's actually look a little bit in depth at these characters now. And I think the key thing that you need to understand to truly understand and appreciate Watch Dogs' story is its key theme of grief is what ties almost all the Watch Dogs characters together in the main game. Aiden, Clara, Nicole, Jackson, T-Bone, Damien, they all suffer with grief in their own sort of way and for their own reasons, and this grief leads to their actions. Even some characters that initially you don't think are driven by grief, such as a character like Default, is later revealed in the Bad Blood DLC to be completely driven by his grief of the loss of his brother due to what T-Bone did in 2003. Almost the entire main cast that you meet within the game of Watch Dogs, their grief stems from the very start of the game when Aiden and Damien did this sort of heist on the hotel and led to the death of Lena and Damien being brutalized. But even other characters, there's a certain event that leads them to feel this immense amount of grief due to a power over them that they cannot even fathom and even control. For example, Default with T-Bone. T-Bone had some extreme power over so many people's lives, and he ruined Default's brother's life by killing him, and this therefore ruined Default's life. But let's actually dig deeper into these characters and explore the theme of grief and what it means for each of these characters and how it pushes them and motivates them in this story and actually explains why they're doing what they're doing.
Haven't you heard? I'm the vigilante. I clean up mess like you.
Aiden is the heart and soul of this game. It places a heavy focus on his story, how he has dealt with grief, and how the effect of his actions have on other people. Him being named the Fox by media suits him very well. Foxes represent many things in many cultures, be it cunning tricksters or being very adaptable. But the thing that I think links them so much with Aiden is transformation. Aiden learns to deal and accept the loss of Lena. Despite the senseless killing that you do in the game, the end choice I think reinforces his actual change from an angry man who just wants revenge and will do anything to achieve it, to someone that just wants justice where it has failed. The fox in Finished Mythos represents something that can achieve victory using its intelligence over both malevolence and brute strength, which Aiden does throughout the entire game. Over Damien, Lucky Quinn, Iraq, these people are malevolent and have more power than Aiden, but he still overcomes them. Aiden is a very interesting character that dives into the themes of grief and even depression, and his actor, Noam Jenkins, does give him a level of roughness that does make him feel like he's seen a lot in his life, which he wishes he could unsee. And my favourite scene with him is the flashback scene at Lena's grave with his sister. I just really like the scene as it pulls back the curtain on Aiden, and behind the tough Batman-esque persona, he is a very sad and distraught man who he can't believe that what his actions have caused for his family. In my most recent playthrough, Aiden really stuck out to me as a really good character, as even I thought he was a bit generic and one note, but he does have some really good depth here. And I often hear the complaint online that Aiden is often a character that feels very unreasonable and he's not very likable, but I think that's kind of the point of his character. To us, Aiden is meant to seem extremely unhinged and he's doing anything that he can to get some sort of revenge and actually feel some sort of closure over Lena's death. We aren't meant to really feel like, oh yeah, that he should be doing that. The actions he does are horrific. He kills so many people, and even the people that you kill in the gameplay, it makes sense with the story. Initially, I thought there was a bit of narrative dissonance because we would see Aiden, you know, take down these people as a vigilante and you could kill them and it wouldn't really change the story. But the scene with Jackson seeing Aiden kill all these people, honestly, it made Aiden's character a lot better to me and actually made him a significantly better one. You aren't meant to like Aiden, but you're meant to understand his actions. He isn't meant to be someone that you can look up to and someone that should represent anything. He is a man that is truly angry and just wants to kill people and get revenge for his dead niece. I really do think Aiden is a very misunderstood character from people who don't actually understand that his anger is not meant to be something that you can truly relate to because it is so extreme, and the people that see him as a sort of Sigma character that just sort of is a badass. Aiden should not be seen as a badass. Yeah, he's a cool character, but we shouldn't look up to him. He is a character that lets his grief consume him and become so angry that it destroys almost everyone's life. We know that in the future, Aiden becomes completely distant from both his sister and Jackson, being completely absent in their lives. And even other characters like T-Bone don't ever see him again because Aiden just disappears. He distances himself so much because the grief leads him down that path. Aiden is really good, honestly. He is a massive highlight to this game, and the writing team should be really proud of the character they actually made for this game, because to me, Aiden is what made Watch Dogs 1 so good and stand above other GTA clones. They actually made a good character. He is probably my second favorite character in the game. Yes, he's my second. My favorite character is...
Hey! That's my fucking coffee!
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Relax, you guys. First of all, this is anything but coffee. And secondly, I'm here because head office hired me to run a pen test on your system.
T-Bone, or Raymond Kenny, is such an interesting character to me. Being one of the developers of CTOS, he feels a lot of responsibility for the issues that the system have caused for people, and his outburst in 2003 causing the death of 11 people haunts him, and in the DLC Bad Blood, this is fully shown with him remembering each and every name of the people that he killed.
11 people died. Lindsay Garcia, Jeremy Connors. You want more? Because I can list them all for you.
And when Default teases him for it, he gets really angry about it, as he doesn't want their deaths to be something that are just used against him. He knows that these are real people, and these people need to be remembered in the way that they lived, not in their death.
No! No! It's all bullshit! That's not the way it went down at all, you twisted psychopathic fuck! Is this how you get off? Well, fuck you!
But to T-Bone, in his eyes, the ends that he was trying to meet justified the means. So what I mean by this is the message that T-Bone was trying to send was so important that even the deaths of these people, to him, did not make him even second think of what he was doing. He believed it was that important to warn society of what was going to happen. And honestly, he isn't wrong. With Watch Dogs Legion now being out, we do truly see what happens in the end with CTOS. And T-Bone was right. This system would have way too much control over people and too much power in society. T-Bone is probably one of the only characters in the game that is smarter than Aiden himself in not only the hacking way, but also just sort of the way the world works and understanding it, and how much of a big threat that these systems play on people. T-Bone, I just find him such an interesting character overall, and him being the funny drunk character is a bonus to me as well.
Now, if Aiden's grief pushes him towards being more angry and vengeful, T-Bone's grief pushes him more in the direction of having to rely on substances and isolating himself from the world. T-Bone lives a very isolated life, and it's very apparent, as when you meet him, he is drinking on his own in a bar where no one is, and he lives in the middle of nowhere. T-Bone and Aiden, kind of the same thing happened to them. They both tried to abuse the system to get something that they wanted out of it, and they paid a massive price for it. T-Bone, he killed 11 people and was basically blacklisted from all of society, and Aiden, his niece died. It's really cool seeing two characters who they go through a great amount of grief, and the way they deal with it is so different, and it is very much highlighted in both these characters. T-Bone and Aiden are very equal characters, and they both have similar stakes in the world. And with Bad Blood, T-Bone is explored a lot more, and actually shows that he does care a lot about people and is a good person. Him staying around to keep Tobias safe does show that he does care, and he isn't just some random guy that just wants to send a message to the world because he believes his life is hard. He has gone through hardships, and he has seen the worst in society. Seeing his own fellow colleague, Rose Washington, be murdered and it being covered up by the company he worked for really does send him down a spiral, and he does try to change the world. I find T-Bone fascinating, and I really do think his character is enhanced a lot more in the next game, but here he is a really good character, a character that does see the problems with the world, and when he tries to change it, he is pushed back hard for it, but he does get there in the end and does change the world.
Clara is a character that is fueled to help Aiden due to the grief she is stricken with due to the information she gave led to the death of Lena, and I'm starting to see a pattern here. Clara is a solid character overall, being a sort of guiding character to help players into the world of Watch Dogs and understand it. She knows who the key players are, and this is exhibited by her understanding of people like Raymond Kenny, which she informs Aiden of. Honestly, I really like her character overall, and her death honestly is a great send-off to her character, and I think the writers of this game did such a good job with her overall arc in the story, even with the short amount of screen time that she technically has, because she doesn't really get a lot of development over the story. She is kind of just like an informant character that just sort of talks to us. But I do think she has a good arc here about how grief can just lead people to the darkest parts of their minds, and they can't move on from it, and they just accept death.
Aye. Oh, fuck.
Jordi is the fun guy that does some dirty work. Honestly, he doesn't really add a lot to the game, mainly used to give tutorial missions and a bit of banter here and there, and he helps Aiden out occasionally, but I do find him pretty funny, which is a nice palate cleanser from, you know, the really depressed Aiden, and I do like him. I honestly just wish there was more of him. Okay, so Jackson and Nikki are mainly there only to give Aiden some great character moments to grow his character, and once they are done, they are shipped off out of Chicago, and honestly, there's nothing bad to say about them. They work in the story, and they're good story pieces. I never felt like they took anything away from the story, like if it was a cheesy love plot, which at the start of the game, I wondered why it wasn't like Aiden was the father, but it actually makes sense. The game didn't want some like love plot. They wanted something more personal about family, and I think it works better than if it was his daughter that died. It being his niece actually is better in my opinion, because it shows how that even though he is not directly related to this person and it's not something insane as if his daughter died, it still haunts him and he hates it. And this death, it's across multiple characters, and I really do like it. I think it's great. In addition to this, I never felt like this family took anything away from the story, and the side plot of Jackson being at the therapist actually added quite a bit of stakes due to the threat of the police getting involved. So overall, I think this family was handled really well, and the writers actually used them effectively and knew when to get rid of them. So A+ from me. Lucky. a really good villain, honestly. He is the typical mustache twirling villain mob boss kind of character, the head honcho. He's really good, and I really think he works well within this story about corruption and the abuse of power. As we know in real life, if a system is corrupted, it is mainly due to the people being in power in that position for way too long. And Lucky has been in that position for far too long. Also, he's really fucking creepy looking, and I felt no remorse turning that fucker off.
One problem almost all the villains in this game have, Lucky, Quinn and Iraq included, is it's not made very clear why they're actually being involved with the story to the player. So with Lucky, the reason why he gets involved with tracking down Aiden and trying to kill him, revealed at the end of the game, is because the initial job in the Merlot Hotel was actually owned by Lucky, and that's why he wanted to go against Aiden, because his patrons being robbed is not a good look for him. And the reason that Iraq got involved with Lucky Quinn is because while Aiden and Damien were going for money, Iraq was going just for information, which he did do successfully, and he partnered with Quinn in order to basically track down Damien with, of course, the help of Clara. And this basically is what sort of the entire bad guy team is set up with. That's the only reason Lucky and Iraq are even with each other in the game, is because they both have something that they mutually want. Iraq wants to move up in the world, and Quinn needs to track down both Damien and Aiden, and also would not mind having this blackmail on all these people, as he does very effectively use it against the mayor that we see who killed Rose Washington, and he uses this to get himself some actual political power in the world. So he is a really good villain, but I do think they could have done a bit better in displaying his character, and that's kind of the problem with this game. Like GTA 5, it has a lot of antagonists that don't get very direct screen time to really explain to you. You really have to go your way listening to audio logs and really understand what each character is saying in cutscenes to get the full picture, because if you don't do this, you'll very quickly get lost in the story and not understand it. The amount of people that completely forget that Iraq is the second hacker because it is one line towards the end of the game where, spoilers, you kill him, it just shows how sort of disjointed the story can be at times. But the actual story written down is really good, but of course a lot of games do run into the problem of presenting the story, which this game does have as well.
Okay, Iraq I don't think works as well as much as the other characters. He's a bit half-baked and honestly really doesn't add a lot to the game. I don't hate his character, and I like the parts with him in Bedbug, but I think honestly they should have just given Iraq more to do and have him interact a bit more with Aiden and the other characters to be a bit more of a physical threat to them. I hate to say it, but this guy dies so quick and it doesn't really feel like he does anything. And even in the end, yes, he was the second hacker, but he wasn't the person that traced Aiden. It was Clara, so we don't really have sort of a personal reason to hate him. Job himself to get some information. An amazing villain. I really like Damien. Being Aiden's mentor gives him an aura that, holy shit, how do we beat this guy? As everything that we know that we can do, he taught Aiden. So he does have a level of power that sort of is over him. And linking back to Aiden being a fox, the malevolence that Damien brings to Aiden around his family is his undoing in the end, as Aiden, being a cunning character and very much a trickster, actually plays Damien, making his downfall very satisfying in the end. And he never felt like a silly villain who couldn't back up his words, as shown in the final mission. He really does have some power in the whole system of CTOS and around Chicago.
Damien is honestly such an interesting villain because of his history with Aiden. Him being sort of involved with Aiden for quite a long time does mean he understands what Aiden cares about and what makes him click. And that is fully shown when he goes after Nikki and kidnaps her, and he understands and knows what Aiden will probably do. But then that's also made very much more interesting when Aiden knows that he knows this and then counterplays it. It makes both characters feel very real and honestly smart as well. It enhances Aiden's character a lot and making him feel more intelligent and more a fun protagonist to follow. Going back to the two and actually mirroring them, they both have very similar lives, and of course they both experienced the same event, the Merlot Hotel robbery. Both were pushed by the desire of greed, both trying to get as much money as they could get, but Damien was even more greedy, wanting to get even more money than Aiden even believed they should get, and also try to find out who the second hacker was in the system of the Merlot Hotel, and this obviously led to the two being discovered.
Now, obviously, they both want revenge on the people that did the horrible things to them. Aiden for the death of Lena and Damien for his poor leg. But the problem is that Damien does not want revenge. He just wants the data off Iraq's server. The data that Iraq has will expose a lot of big people at Bloom. We know this because we are basically told it by Aiden and Clara and T-Bone when they decrypt it finally. And what was he going to do with this data? Well, sell it to Bloom employee to get a nice big paycheck and a nice sort of cushy job in Bloom to keep them safe. That's all he wanted. He didn't actually care about getting revenge, and he was never going to get revenge. He just wanted to make more money and just live a bit of a better life, I guess. But Aiden, while he was started being a very greedy person, stealing from people, eventually he does turn to someone that genuinely wants justice for what happened to his niece. And we then see that at the end, in my opinion, when you should choose the right ending in not killing Maurice. Choosing to enact justice where it has failed in the world. As I stated, with multiple characters in the game, this game is about grief and the effects it has on people, families, and the world itself. And of course, the power that large tech corporations have over people and the danger that they pose to society. But to me, the game is a more personal story about grief and how people can be traumatized by it and become rageful, sad, or just become a drunk person who lives in bars. Watch Dogs doesn't have a super deep story that's going to really blow your socks off. It's personal, it's simple, but it feels real. Each of these characters are written so well, and the way that they deal with their grief is fascinating to me. Even the villains such as Damien, the grief of being heavily wounded, or Iraq being a war veteran, so many of these characters link back to that central theme of grief and hardships changing their lives. The fact that the key character moments for multiple characters take place at the grave of a 6-year-old girl, I think says a lot about the whole theme that this game is trying to portray in general. But like all games, the theming and story and characters can only take a game so far. So let's talk about like GTA, Watch Dogs gameplay is fragmented into multiple sections, them being driving, combat, stealth, and hacking. Let's start with combat. So the general combat is okay. I'm going to split it into gunplay and hacking combat because there's two sort of different combat systems in this game. So gunplay is I guess. It's very okay. It's a bit stiff, the recoil is crazy at times, but I think this is due to them wanting players to not rely on just shooting everything like in GTA. But the problem is, multiple points during the game straight up encourages you to just kill things with these massive combat sequences where, again, the guns are the best way to kill things. So having this really stiff gunplay and insane recoil makes these sections sometimes, not always, a bit annoying to play through. It's just a bit odd to me that they do this, and it made me not use things like SMGs, LMGs, ARs. I stuck with things like snipers, shotguns, and pistols, which had either low recoil, like pistols, or could one-shot, like shotguns and snipers. And yeah, while fun, it does make most of the weapons feel just pointless to use. But the hacking combat, I love the hacking combat. Being able to hack things like explosives to send people flying across your screen or remove their cover is so fun to me. While it is simple, it is just a button press, it really does change combat up. Being able to give yourself cover or remove an enemy's cover is such a cool thing to be able to do, and just be able to blast them away with a sniper rifle from really far away because you removed their cover, it's just really enjoyable and I really like it. And then with the simple cover system where you press a button and you go into cover and you know you're in cover, the whole system is simple. It's simple, but it works. And honestly, it's fun. If it was just the shooting aspect, I think this game would really fail on its gameplay standpoint. But because it has the whole hacking stuff in place, it is really fun in my opinion. And I just love corpse launching things. So if I can blow stuff up, I find it funny. However, one big problem I have overall with the game are the enemies. More specifically, heavy enemies. They are fucking annoying. I always hate when games just make bullet sponges that dish out way too much damage, and the only way that you can really kill them is to stand and fight them. And with the AI being really easy to deceive, the enemies are probably the weakest part of this game's combat. You can shoot an enemy right next to another enemy and they won't even blink. They'll just continue what they were doing, and it's just... the AI is terrible in this game, and that's the whole point of this thing. Ironic, I know, that a Ubisoft game has bad AI. Surely they would fix this within the coming years in future games. Driving. I don't like this driving system. It's stiff as hell. but the ability to be able to hack things like traffic lights, steam pipes, and gates and blockers is really fun to me, and it's really enjoyable to actually see these cars get absolutely clotheslined by other things. You have this really bad system then combined with this really fun system, so they cancel each other out, and the entire driving system is to me. That's it. That's all I can say. The driving isn't fun, but the hacking is super fun. So again, they both cancel each other out. Stealth. It's basic Ubisoft stealth, but the AI is really dumb, so it's really trivial. So honestly, you want my suggestion, play this game on harder difficulties, as it really makes thinking about what you are doing and the enemies more threatening at that. It will make it more fun and honestly more of a challenge to play. Hacking cameras, systems, phones, everything. It's really fun. The simple puzzles help to break up the general gameplay of the game, and the camera systems give a fun way to get insight into engagements and story beats. I really like it, but it is a bit simple. And I think the game would have benefited a lot from more hacking abilities to use, and especially more puzzles for the hacking things, because there's only one. The rerouting thing, that's the only one in the game. So it is a bit annoying. But other than that, I really do like the hacking stuff. Activities. Open world games, you need some activities in the open world to do to make the open world feel worthwhile. And there is actually quite a bit to do in this game, from contracts, hideouts, investigations of murders and cults, shops that you can shop in, and fun little side activities. There is a lot to actually engage with in the world of Watch Dogs, and I remember actually spending a lot of time in this game world, especially back in 2014, just doing all these activities, and even having things like poker and chess is something so simple that you can add into a game, but it actually adds a lot of stuff to mess around with and is a lot of fun. Of course, this game has a multiplayer mode, and it kind of does help that this multiplayer mode is in this game, because one of the main things of this game is a sort of PvP hacking thing where you infiltrate someone's game and you have to hack them. And I really like this mode. It's so simple, but it's fun. And I think a future Watch Dogs game, Watch Dogs Legion, really failed on this whole hacking online thing because they overcomplicated it way too much. In this game, it's really good and I really like it. Being a GTA clone, I thought it would be interesting to look at how the world is built up in this game, and due to in GTA that being one of the main things about the game. So first of all, it's Chicago, which honestly is a really great setting, especially for this game's depressing story, as all I hear about Chicago is that it's a depressing and crime-ridden place. So honestly, it works super well. Characters don't feel out of place in this world and all feel grounded in this world and city that was created for this game, and it makes sense for them to exist. None of them feel like they were created by designers in our world, but instead grew up in the city itself and in this world. It actually makes a lot of sense and is pretty fun. The tech such as CTOS is a fun idea and actually explains how people like Aiden are able to access so much of the world, from bank accounts, cars, camera systems, traffic systems, and even steam pipes. It makes sense if the entire city's infrastructure is run off one entire OS system, and recently this future feels more and more real than ever, with many government systems around the world suffering from cyber attacks due to vulnerabilities in widely adopted operating systems. Looking at you, NHS, gotta love ya.
Now, comparing it to something like GTA's world with all their different brands and, you know, the way that they immerse you in your world, does Watch Dogs actually do a good job at doing this? Well, yes and no. For the first game, it does quite a good job. Things like CTOS, Bloom, and all these other fake companies and brands that you see in the shops and everything, and advertisements you see on billboards, which you can see their stock in shops. It does sort of immerse you in that world, but I don't think it does it as well as GTA, for example. In my opinion, the game world still feels quite generic. It doesn't have a lot of its own charm or flavor to it, and I think that's a big issue I have with this game's world compared to something like GTA. Its open world does not feel as alive compared to something like GTA 5's, where almost everywhere you look, there is some sort of world building going on. But in this game, it kind of feels like it is stuck in Chicago and it's not its own world. With the only things that really pull you out into this game's world is things like the mentions of Bloom or DedSec or Default, these characters that don't exist in our world but are inspired by something and is a nice twist on it. Even all the cars that they're all their own brands and all made up, but we don't get really any
mention of the names of these brands. We can't really easily find their names in game. The only way you can really find them is by really looking them up online. But overall, I do like this world of Watch Dogs. I think Chicago is honestly the perfect setting for this game, and the only other city I think that could have even rivaled it in terms of its potential would have been New York. But again, that would be very much a GTA 4 clone, and this is what this game was. This game started development in 2009 and was definitely targeted towards being a GTA 4-esque game. I think that explains the tone and the overall sort of story of it. It was very much made to compete and copy GTA 4, and that's something Ubisoft would do with Watch Dogs, and is a problem that I will explore in the next few videos, especially as we talk about them. The biggest problem with Watch Dogs to me is it doesn't really have its own identity. It has amazing parts that I truly do love, from the characters to the world to the story. It's a great game. It never really got out the shadow of being seen as a GTA clone, and I think this kind of hindered the series' ability to actually really make something special of itself. I think Ubisoft really do have a winning formula here with Watch Dogs. I think they need to give it some room to really grow its roots and create something truly special, and I think they would have done that if they carried on from where Watch Dogs 2 was and not completely changed course into what became of Watch Dogs Legion from Watch Dogs 2. I really do think that the Watch Dogs games are so splintered, but I do think that's a strength of theirs. Game series don't need to follow the same tone in general, and that is a part of this world. The tone. Watch Dogs' tone is very dark, and then in the future we'll go to a bit of a more bright, happy one, and then we'll go back to depressing and dark. But I don't think we need to follow a tone to make a fun world. I think the main thing that they should have really focused on and taken from what 2 did right was actually the world building that they did. And in Watch Dogs 1, it really did lack a lot of good, solid world building. But again, I will talk about that in a Watch Dogs 2 video and a Watch Dogs 3 video, because again, this is not about them, it's about Watch Dogs 1. So overall, if we look back to 2014 when this game came out, I think they did a really good job at the time. When this game came out, there was nothing really that could compete with it other than Grand Theft Auto. Yes, there were games like Sleeping Dogs and Saints Row, but even they were sort of had the same problems that this game had. And I think that just shows that there is something about Grand Theft Auto that can't really be replicated. But Watch Dogs, in its place, tried to make something even more unique, a very good world in general that is very dark and depressing. And I like it. It's fun and unique. So, thumbs up from me. So let's talk about how Watch Dogs performed both critically and commercially for Ubisoft. Well, commercially, it sold over 10 million copies, becoming one of Ubisoft's best performing IPs and one of their best selling games of recent years, and Watch Dogs became a major franchise for them. Critically, critics really did enjoy it. It got generally favorable reviews and a lot of players did like it as well. But I'm not going to ignore the serious issues that this game had at launch especially. First up, straight up false advertisements. When this game came out, Ubisoft was generally viewed in a more positive light. They just came off AC4, Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4 just came out, which was pretty good. What else did they make? You know, Splinter Cell games were still around. Rainbow Six Vegas was popping off. You know, we had some bangers from Ubisoft back then. Rayman Origins, must I say more? We had some bangers, some seriously good games here. And unfortunately, Ubisoft started doing this thing, seeing with Watch Dogs was the biggest sort of one for this. When Watch Dogs was shown off, it was touted as a true next-gen game. And the problem is, what they were showing off at E3 was just not real. It looks nothing like what they're showing off at E3. It's just straight up not real, and the fact that this game also came out on 360 and PS3 to me shows that this game was not designed as a next-gen game. This is a 360 game all the way through. It was just marketed as a next-gen game, and this whole false advertising thing about them showing games that basically aren't real, they also did this with things like The Division, which is also another big one, but even Far Cry 3 had a massive downgrade, and it's something that Ubisoft would be known for, and they would eventually stop, but the problem is their games would be shit, so it didn't really help them. But overall, I do actually think the game did well within the gaming community, both at launch and even now. A lot of people do look back at Watch Dogs very fondly, myself included, and it would have become a big Ubisoft IP for them if they actually built it well. And they did start building it very well, but then they shat the bed with Legion, and I'll talk about that in the future, as this video is not about Legion, it's about Watch Dogs 1, so let's get back to Watch Dogs 1. So let's talk about So I wasn't actually going to comment at all on the music because I didn't really have anything to say about it, and there wasn't really any tracks that really stuck out to me. Of course, I like the main menu theme, but as I was editing this video and actually picking out some tracks from the game's soundtrack and OST and game rips, some of this music is seriously good, and I've actually never heard anyone talk about it, so I'm just gonna, for a couple minutes, put in some of my favorite songs that I found while editing this video. But yeah, seriously, check out this music. It does bang pretty hard.
Her name's Christine.
Post-launch, was it good? Was it bad? Let's look at it. They added some side modes and some side DLC, which seemed to be a bit mixed in the community and not seem to be worthwhile. And with the online mode, it added quite a bit of sort of replayability, especially post-launch. But the main thing I'm going to talk about is the big DLC expansion, or, you know, the thing that most people will care about, Bad Blood, which has players play as T-Bone and follow a short story about him trying to escape Chicago. But unfortunately, Tobias keeps him in Chicago to save him. And with this, it has a short campaign, and there are some new side missions and other bits and bobs to do. Honestly, I won't deep dive into it, as I don't think there is enough actually here to really talk about, but I do think there's enough to warrant a playthrough. If you want to learn more about T-Bone and DedSec, and it gives a level of insight into this world. And honestly, this expansion is pretty cheap, so I'd recommend playing it. It doesn't feel padded, and it has a pretty decent runtime, and it feels fine. You can do it in one sitting like I did, and yeah, it's a good play. And I like T-Bone, so I guess a thumbs up from me. Okay, let's give it a Croc rating. Gameplay? I'll give it a 7. Honestly, it's decent with some things holding it back, like this stupid AI, but the fun hacking is honestly a massive benefit to me, and it's still a very unique gameplay system to this very day. Story? Nice. I really like it. The theme of grief is really good and all the characters are fun, but at times some do feel pointless and a bit redundant as well. And also the story is very much one tone, which is depressing, just like Chicago, but I do enjoy it, so 9 from me. Visuals, I'll give it a 7. This game is ugly as hell due to the lighting being terrible and the game not really aging the best, but the actual style of the game and the cutscenes, they all look really great, and the whole hacking aesthetic is really fun and will be used to great effect in future games. So 7 from me. Content, decent amount of game here, but it is a bit repetitive, so I guess an A. I would go 9, but with how much the objectives and mission types repeat in the main story and side quests, it does bring it down a bit for me. But having poker is a massive bonus to me, and something so small but fun. Music. I really like the actual soundtrack of this game, and the licensed radio music is also fun as well. But the lack of pickable radio stations akin to GTA is a bit annoying, because sometimes you'll listen to a song that you don't like and you'll have to flick through to find one. But other than that, I do like it. I really do like the music, the original music as well, and with the main menu music being iconic to me. So yeah, 9 I guess. Calculating the final score, it gets a 40 out of 50, or a 4 out of 5 game. I would really recommend this game to anyone who wants a bit of a unique twist on an open world game akin to GTA, or just has an interest in the world or story in this game. So if you want a game about the danger of technology or a story about an angry vigilante who isn't Batman, I'd recommend picking this game up. Hey, if you got all the way at the end, thanks for watching. And to those who are new to the channel and subscribed, thank you for all the recent support on the videos. It's been very nice to see, and I love seeing all your comments and likes. If you want, leave some comments down below about something I might have gotten wrong with this video, because I know I'm not perfect. And also, leave some comments on some games that you think go under the radar of a lot of people. I'm always looking for something new to play, and I'm always keen and willing to play some truly underrated gems of games. I do plan on doing a Watch Dogs 2 video first, but I plan on doing something for Halloween next. So hopefully, if you are watching these videos all the way to the end, you have something to look forward to now, as I plan on doing a pretty good horror game, I think, for this video next. Again, thank you for watching. That's all from me. See you around, Crocodile.